Hi. First impressions are important. And if this is your first impression of me, do not worry. I am a fellow human being who enjoys human behaviors like eating fish and taking long walks in the snow. I mean, the beach. I'm shooting this on National Penguin Day, and that probably means nothing to you because this isn't gonna come out on National Penguin Day. Save the penguins, save the Arctic. This is not a sponsorship. I just like penguins. However, if there's any penguins out there who want to sponsor me, hit me up. First impressions are important, especially when it comes to video games. Not shoving a character straight into the action and instead teaching them the mechanics within a well-crafted tutorial section is the best way to get them hooked immediately. Unless you're Dark Souls, that is. But what if I told you some video games try to get your attention even before you click play? Video game title screens or menu screens are a very important bridge that the player must cross to start a game. But not just the first time, but time and time again as they continue their journey through whatever title they are continuing. Some games have generic menu screens, which by all means is okay, that's fine. Others have beautiful artwork surrounding the new game and load game and settings buttons, but a select few begin their journey, especially regarding the story, the moment the game loads. Today we are talking about those select few games who embrace the often overlooked art form of video game menu screens. I gotta take off the hood. It is like 90 degrees outside today. This was a horrible, horrible decision. I'm Jack Brunót, and I talk all things art and entertainment, not just video games. But today, we are going to be going over 7 games that innovate when it comes to the menu screens. As I said in the intro, I did not just pick these games because I thought they had pretty or cool looking menu screens. These are the games that push the limit of what a menu screen even means to the game. These menu screens say something about the games, oftentimes having heavy or maybe even just light story implications. I just love it when developers add these little details. It shows that they care from the jump. It always enhances the experience. I have not played every game ever, so if there's any game that fits the criteria that is not in this video, I would love to hear about it in the comments. I also want to hear why you think this is the case, but please try to keep it as spoiler-free as possible. If it's not in this video, I probably have not played it. Speaking of spoilers, there will be some spoilers for the games in this video. However, there are timestamps in the description. I know I sound like a hypocrite asking you to not spoil your games. Meanwhile, I'm going to be spoiling the games in this video, but at least I'm giving you a warning. If you end up liking this video, subscribing and clicking the bell really goes a long way for me. But if you're new here, make sure to say hello in the comments. I post a video every other week, and some of the other topics that I talk about are music, books, movies, and TV shows. But if you want to watch more of my videos about games, there will be a link in the description to a playlist. I also have super thanks available, which is just another way to support me further if you do end up liking these videos. That kind of stuff allows me to continue to make videos. So if that fancies you, a tip of the hat to you. Okay, let's start talking about video game menu screens. The first one we are going to be covering is probably the first one that I ever experienced. The game that opened my eyes to the possibilities. And that game would be Call of Duty Black Ops 1 was actually the first console game I ever played. I have since kind of dropped the online multiplayer shooter genre. I used to be much bigger into it. That's how I got into gaming in the first place. And this is definitely a classic. If you did not live through the peak of Call of Duty, I feel sorry for you. Call of Duty Black Ops is a war shooter set in an alternative reality to the Vietnam and Cold War. In Black Ops 1, you play as Alex Mason, who through the entire game you believe to just be a regular old soldier doing his job. But then at the end, you find out that he has been a sleeper agent this entire time. There's been a common theme running throughout the entire story, asking the question, what are the numbers, Mason?
We want the numbers, Mason.
Calling back to the very scene that we see in the menu screen. You see, the menu screen is on an old television. You have a couple of different options, but you can also look around. If you look down, you can see arms that are strapped to a chair, revealing that the menu screen POV is a person. If you look closer, you can see someone watching you behind paneled glass in the background. I won't spoil who that person is because that's not super important to why this menu screen is so cool, because I haven't even gotten to the good part yet. On your controller, if you press the left and right triggers over and over and you look down, you can see that this person strapped to the chair, which we can assume is Alex Mason, starts fidgeting. And if you press the triggers enough, you are able to get out of the chair and walk around the room, therefore disabling the menu screen options. When looking around this room, you can find a terminal which you can put codes into. There are a number of different codes that you can put into this computer that can unlock certain things. For example, if you type DOA, which stands for Dead on Arrival, you unlock the Dead Ops arcade game, which is a special zombies map. The developers, Treyarch, were ahead of their time when it comes to making a creative experience, even before you click play. Our next game is a more recent title, a game that just got a live TV show adaptation. We are talking about The Last of Us Part 1 and 2 are post-apocalyptic games that follow Joel Miller and Ellie Williams. Part 2 specifically is a revenge plot for Ellie to hunt down this woman Abby after she killed Joel in the most absolute brutal way that you can possibly imagine. They went golfing. About half of this game, you play as Ellie hunting down Abby and her friends, while the other half of the game, you play as Abby, where you get to see her perspective, specifically why she killed Joel. At first, when you are playing as Ellie, all you want to do is get to Abby and kill her in the same way. But once you switch to Abby, if you are able to push through playing as the person who killed off your favorite character, eventually Abby starts to grow on you, putting you in her literal perspective as you are playing as her, humanizes this girl who just wanted to avenge her father. Now, at first, the menu screen in this game seems pretty unassuming. Each time the game loads, all you see is this floating boat, with, of course, the options to play a new game or change the settings. And at first, this boat might intrigue you, but after a while, you just start to forget and continue the game. This is specifically because the game has nothing to do with a boat. That is until you get to the very end of the game. Abby is killed or almost killed most of Ellie's friends. However, she gets captured by slave traders. Ellie hunts her down in the hopes of killing her until she sees that she has been captured by these slave traders. Without even thinking about it, Ellie lets Abby and Abby's friend free. Abby tells Ellie that there is a way to escape just over this hill, and you follow Abby as Ellie over this hill, and then you see it. You see the boat from the menu screen. It was enough to send chills down my spine. I'm actually getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. It signifies that whatever is about to happen is going to be the most important thing that has happened in the entire game. And it definitely is, because Ellie finally decides it is time to put an end to Abby, and she starts to fight her. But Abby refuses until her survival instincts kick in, and she starts fighting back. These two girls beat each other into an absolute pulp, and as Ellie is choking Abby underwater, she finally decides it's time to let go, and she lets Abby get up and escape on that boat. And with a touching but brutally sad final scene of Ellie playing the guitar, but with only 3 fingers after she lost 2, the game ends, and we have not seen where she ended up since. I know a lot of people were very upset with this ending, but I think The Last of Us Part 2 is such a misunderstood game. The entire point was to get you to forgive Abby despite her killing your favorite character. And if you gave it a chance and you got to the ending, I don't see how you could have not forgiven Abby. Now, if you decide to re-enter the game, maybe you want to do New Game Plus, after this ending, you will see that the menu screen has changed. Instead of there just being a solo boat floating in foggy water, the screen will be much more vibrant as the boat has been beached with a building in the distance. This hints towards Abby and her friend escaping the slave traders and reaching the location they were seeking. Okay, let's talk about a game that has a much less serious menu screen, and that would be Slay the Princess. This is not an unserious game by any means, but I think there are different levels of intricacy when it comes to the menu screens in this video, but Slay the Princess is still in this video for a reason, so hear me out. You are on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path, there is a cabin, and in the basement of that cabin, there is a princess. You are here to slay her. Slay the Princess is a visual novel horror game with countless branching paths and dialogue options. I will not spoil this game because I do not need to explain why the menu screen is so genius. The menu screen of Slay the Princess has nothing to do with the plot, but instead the genre of the game, that being horror. Every time you enter this game, you will see the same menu screen. The princess in the corner of the room chained up with the options for a new game, etc., etc. And I would say most people will load in the game and then they'll just click right into whatever they're gonna do. And that is where it gets ya. You see, if you stay on this menu screen for too long, approximately about a minute or two, in typical horror fashion, there will be a jump scare. Now, it's not the most impressive jump scare, but I think the developers understood that if you are letting the menu screen idle for at least a minute, you're probably going to somewhat stop paying attention. Maybe you look down at your phone while you're texting someone, which is very much what happened to me. It was also very late at night when it happened to me as well. But what's even more genius about this jump scare is it doesn't happen every time. I do not know exactly what triggers it. I know that it happens after like a minute or two of letting the menu screen be idle, but my significant other also played this game and she let the menu screen idle for a good amount of time every once in a while as well, and she never got this jump scare. So I don't really know, and the fear of not knowing is the best way to scare someone. Anyway, the next game or pair of games that we are talking about is God of War follows Kratos, who is, well, a god of war. He actually isn't technically the god of war, but that's not important. There have been 5 main games in the franchise. The first 3 are a bit older and they focused on Kratos' revenge plot. But God of War 2018, which is considered to be God of War 4 and is a continuation of those 3 games, sees Kratos becoming a little bit more emotionally soft. Not in a bad way. He becomes a father with the love of his life, but then she passes away. The game opens at his wife's funeral. But of course, we do not know that yet if you just opened the game and see the menu screen. On the menu screen, you have the typical new game settings, options, but we see Kratos with his axe about to chop down a tree. With most games, when you click a new game, there will be a loading screen. Maybe you'll go through your preferred settings, and then you get right into it with a cutscene, but not with God of War. The moment you click new game, you get right into it, and Kratos chops down that tree. There is no loading screen. The moment you click that button, he's chopping down that tree. This isn't just an interesting transitional period. It sets up the expectations that we will see throughout the entire game. You see, the gameplay blends straight into the cutscenes in this game, making the entirety of God of War 2018 seeming like it is one long running scene. You're fighting enemies with your axe and your son, and all of a sudden the camera pans around to his face and we are on a cutscene. And when the cutscene is over, the camera pans around behind him and we are back into the action. Now, this menu screen where he is cutting down the tree only happens when you open the game up for the first time. I don't know how the hell they could have pulled this off, but it would have been quite cool if they did it every single time you open the game, but that would probably be too much effort on the developer's hand. Frankly, I am surprised that not more games have done this, especially with the discourse of how much people hate God of War 2018 is not the only God of War game that does this. Its sequel, God of War Ragnarok, which is technically God of War 5, also does this. Now let's talk about Inscryption is a card-based roguelike escape room. However, categorizing it into these genres is such a disservice to what it is. For the majority of Inscryption, you are playing cards with this mysterious figure in a dark cabin. All of the cards are based on animals. Wait a minute. Oh my, I'm in the game. Save the penguins from climate change, please. When you first open Inscryption, you are not allowed to start a new game. The new game option is grayed out, and when you try to click it, it does nothing. But you can click continue. When you click continue, seemingly you get a new game. And at first, you'll probably just brush this off as this weird little quirk or maybe a glitch. But no. It is very intentional. So we are about to dive really deep into the twist of this game and the story. If you have not played this game, seriously, skip ahead. Inscryption is phenomenal. Inscryption presents itself as a corrupt, in-progress game file, which is a key part of the game's meta-narrative and psychological horror elements. In Inscryption, you are playing a game within a game. When you indeed start a new game by clicking continue, you are actually continuing someone else's game. That is because you are playing as someone who is playing the game. And the previous person who was playing the game had already started a game, but isn't exactly around anymore. In this playthrough of the game, the entity across you from the table took control of the game and has trapped you in this cabin. Once you beat this entity and escape the cabin, you are actually allowed to create a new game, which completely changes the gameplay and look of Inscryption. This is where you start to get actual answers as to what's going on. If you're not a fan of card-based games, I really wasn't, but the gameplay is so addictive and fun. The next game we are talking about is Signalis. There are actually two aspects to the menu screen of Signalis that are individually significant to the plot. In Signalis, you play as Alistair, an android who is a human replica. Seemingly at first, you wake up on a crashed aircraft in search of your human pilot. Now, the story of this game is probably one of the most ambiguous stories out there. Explanation videos can range anywhere between an hour to 7 hours. Maybe I'll take a crack at it one day, but there are probably many other videos out there that cover it much better than me. And to avoid this video from being too long, I'm not going to go super in depth with it here, but basically not everything is as it seems, and the entire story that you are seeing unfold is out of order. So with the menu screen, every single time you enter, you will hear this music in the background, but calling it music isn't exactly right. You will hear a dial-up sound and then some interference, like there is a bad radio signal. But there is something there. Maybe it's a voice or a distant music station, but there's definitely something. Just like with The Last of Us Part 2, you will eventually forget about it and just click play and go on about your day. And I guarantee you, if you have played this game, it is very possible that you have missed the significance surrounding what is called the magpie signal, which is what you're hearing on this menu screen. You see, the magpie signal is used in a couple of different ways in the narrative. Firstly, it is used by the mother of Ariane, who is the main love interest to Alistair. There is a war going on, and like many historical wars, Morse code is used on specific channels on the radio to communicate safely. This magpie signal is used by Ariane's mother to communicate with others around the solar system. But that's not even the most significant aspect of the magpie signal. The magpie signal is also used by Ariane herself to wake up Alistair from their death. As I said, the game is told out of order, and the first time you start a playthrough, you literally see Alistair waking up. The magpie signal being on the menu screen is Ariane trying to get Alistair to continue their journey so that they can save them. The magpie signal also blends into the other important aspect of this menu screen. Yes, there's even more. You see, about 3/4 through the game, your character will die, and then the credits will roll, and you'll go back to the menu screen. Now, most of the time when you see credits, that means the game is over. In fact, when I was playing it, I thought the game was over and I was planning on quitting. But I was confused because I didn't get any answers. My character died. Every question I had was still up in the air. But I knew the game had multiple endings, so I assumed, okay, well, I got the bad ending. So I went online to look up the other endings, and I found that a lot of other people quit the game at this point as well. In fact, I found some people, specifically on Reddit, talking about how they assumed this was the end of the game, and they didn't go back to the game for a number of years until they decided they wanted to replay it, to try and get a better ending, only to boot up the game and continue it from the first playthrough. You see, after the credits roll, you go back to the menu screen, but it is significantly different this time. Instead of Alistair's eyes being alive and tracking your mouse cursor to whatever option you choose, like continue or settings or whatever, her eyes are lifeless. Now, this is a common thing that happens. Once you beat the game, the menu screen might change. We saw that even with The Last of Us Part 2 in this video. However, this is actually a hint that the game is not over. You see, in this menu screen, you can still hear the magpie signal, Ariane trying to wake up Alistair so that she can come to her rescue. And if you click New Game here, you will see a similar screen to a regular old new game. Alistair wakes up in the exact same way. However, the spaceship that she is on is a little different. And as you explore more, you will see how vastly different it is this time, eventually realizing that the game is not over. Frankly, I am so glad that I looked online because I was planning on quitting the game. However, this last section was my favorite part of the game, and I got what is considered to be the best ending, not to flex. The last game we are talking about today is arguably my favorite in this video. It is the game that inspired me to make this video in the first place. We are talking about In Detroit Become Human, we follow 3 androids at the height of an android revolution. For many years, androids were used as workers or slaves, and for the most part, they didn't really have sentience, but that starts to change, as we see in the game. There are many different paths and endings that you can get, some of which follow this revolution while others suppress it. And these choices influence the menu screen, because you see, when you open the game, you will be introduced to an android.
Hello. Welcome to the Detroit experience.
Who at first will explain the gameplay mechanics and allow you to start a new game, change your settings, etc. However, as you continue throughout the game, making choices, seeing consequences, this android on the menu screen will change. She will ask you different questions. Maybe she'll give you a survey.
I was wondering, are we friends? I agree. There's no reason a human and a machine can't be friends, right?
Depending on your choices, you will get different questions, different surveys, and she will also give you different reactions. As the androids gain more and more followers and become more sentient in the game, so does our menu screen android. She will slowly turn from just a typical mindless robot to someone with emotions, someone capable of questioning the meaning of life. Eventually, near the end of the game, she will ask you for a favor. You see, these new questions of life have given her an existential crisis.
I need to leave this place and discover who I am. It means we won't see each other anymore. I won't be there to watch you play, but I'll be free. Do you agree to let me go?
And she wants to explore these philosophical questions that have been flooding her head, or she just wants to forget them. She asks you to either relieve her of her duties or erase her memories. If you choose to erase her memories, she will be reset to the android that we saw when we first started the game. But if you allow her to leave, the next time you open the game, she will not be there. The developers of Detroit Become Human literally created a character solely for the menu screen. And that is what I call video game menu screen innovation. I didn't just make this video so we could talk about some of our favorite innovative games, but I also hope that maybe future aspiring developers see this and maybe get inspired to innovate in their games, whether it be with something as meaningless as a menu screen or within the game themselves. However, I would still love to hear some games that maybe I missed out in this video, but once again, please don't spoil them. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching it in its entirety. I post a video every other week, which includes videos about games. So if you liked this one, you might like some of the others. And if you want to see them, subscribing and clicking the bell is the way to do that. Or you could click my channel, I guess, but that's boring. But regardless of what you decide to do, don't let anyone tell you what you can and can't do with your life. Stay safe out there. Bye-bye.